Shalom, Koloyum, Wakabala, Yahweh, Bashim, Yahushai, Bashim, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the tabernacle of David, the hopeful elect, scattered abroad. And I want to do a quick lesson on this commentary dealing with the MOTB. And it has an interesting position on the overall general sense of how this particular event is going to prove our faith. It's going to, basically we all going to be put to the test in this very moment. And we've been, spending all this time, prepping and also warning about it. Certain dudes reject, the idea, that they somehow, uh, when it comes to this particular prophecy, that, they're going to be all right. Because as far as they're concerned, the MOTB is not what we say it is. But we know that everybody's going to be faced with it because we see the system that's being rolled out. All right. Everything's being set in place. All right. They're getting rid of paper money. All the banks are pretty much going digital. They're already launching out the digital currencies. The Federal Reserve Chair already told you that there's going to be an international change in the monetary system. So we already know where it's all going. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna just read this commentary, and as I read through it, I may make a few points and definitely interject with some scriptures. So it says starting at the top, it says, and this is from the Expositor's Greek Testament. It says, Revelation 13, 16, 17, detection was inevitable, for the very coins were stamped with the head of the Caesar, the gods, or Rome itself. And the prophet apparently expected that genuine Christians will refuse to sanction idolatry and condone blasphemy by handling such emblems of profanity, in which during that time, during Rome, the Caesars, they had their heads or their faces um pretty much stamped on the coin, whether it was well, for the Roman Caesars, it was the denarius. And even during the time of the Lord, I believe it was Augustus Caesar whose head or face was stamped on there. And they tried to come and trip the Lord up, to see what he would say when they asked him, you know, um, like they showed him the money and asked him, is it lawful? And the Lord pretty much said, render to Caesar what is Caesar's and render to the Lord's what is the Lord's. Because, we were subject to payments under the curse. But they was going to think that the Lord's going to basically uh, say that the Caesar was God so that they can condemn him. But the Lord already knew their thoughts and used wisdom and gave them, the answer from the Spirit. And they got real quiet after that. They didn't have no words. They didn't have nothing to say. But anyway, that's not what the market is now. But going back to that time, you can try to make a point for it. But we know that the MOTB wasn't prophesied about until later on. When John was on the Isle of Patmos during the reign of Domitian. All right, so the prophecy didn't come yet when Yahushua was on the scene. So continuing on, it says, only object servile devotees of the cultists will stoop to that. Irenaeus has a similar allusion to those who carried money cum inscriptionium et imagine Caesaris, or image of Caesar, an inscription of the Caesar's face. This highly figurative allusion is to the habit of marking soldiers and slaves with a conspicuous tattoo or brand, in which we go to the law, which it prohibits you from getting tattoos and also from printing marks upon you or making incisions in the flesh. And they did it back then to commemorate the dead. So we're not supposed to do that at all. All right. But then, a master would do that, just to mark his territory upon you so that you would be identified as one of his property. Because that determines that you're under his authority, you're under his rule, and that's who you are to be devoted to, as basically as a servant, as a slave. So continuing on, it says, and this is quoting Third Maccabees, which the Apostle Tahar went into it in his lesson. It talks about the mark of Dionysus or Bacchus. It says, where the Alexandrian Jews are branded with the mark of Dionysius. All right, and they did it with a ivy ivy ink pen, and that was a sign that you registered. All right, and it was one of the Ptolemies. I forget. I think it might have been the first Ptolemy, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. It was one of the Ptolemies that actually issued out that decree. It says also on Galatians 6:17, where it talks about how he bare in his body the marks of Yahushua, in which you go to that, he was speaking figuratively, but let's go Galatians 6:17. Now Yahushua had actual physical marks on his flesh because he was pierced. So it implies a physical thing that happened to him. And Apostle Paul is basically he's using um figuration, to basically bear the tribulation, the persecution of Yahushua. And you go to marks in the Greek, the word is stigma, which happens to be the last term when you're breaking down the number of the beast, which is 666 chi psi stigma. All right. So stigma says the root word is stizo, which means to stick, or i.e. prick. Right. When you're getting pricked, you basically something is making a slight puncture. All right. Prick, make a small hole in something with a sharp point, pierce slightly. All right. Puncture. And when you're getting that done, you're getting that implant, they're making a puncture in your flesh, in your skin. All right. An act of piercing something with a fine, sharp point. And then you read the usage, and it says, a mark pricked in or branded upon the body. To ancient Oriental usage, slaves and soldiers bore, all right, which they would use, you know, um, ink, and they would basically burn it onto your skin, okay, or the stamp of their master or commander branded or pricked cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belonged to, and there were even some devotees who stamped themselves in this way with the tokens of their gods, like Dionysus, for example. All right, and then you already know about the digital all. That's what we compare uh, uh, the the microchip, we compare it to the awl that was bored into your ear if you want to serve a particular master. So when you volunteer for that, you pretty much are accepting, all right, Esau is your master, the beast is your master. It's a Strong's definition, stigma, to prick, i.e., prick a mark incised or punch for recognition of ownership, figuratively scar of service. All right, so going back to the commentary, it says, or better still, to the religious custom of wearing a god's name as a talisman. The general sense of the prediction is that the faithful will be shut up to the alternative of starving or of coming forward to avow their prohibited faith. So subtly and diabolically does the cultus of the emperor pervade all social life. And that's what they're making an attempt with by setting up this whole digital database system worldwide, where there will be no more anonymity, no more privacy. They're gonna watch over everything. They're gonna have keys to all your social life, every interaction, everything that you do. And if you don't have this marker, this identity, which is gonna be digital, then you won't have access to a social life. They're gonna basically cut you out. So you either gonna have to, you know, take him up on that ultimatum to give in to the image of the beast and make him your master, so that you can, earn, all right, your way into that social life, which is going to be based on a graded social credit system, or you're going to be shut up to food and different social services and things that pretty much um, run society in his life. So they're going to try to their intention is to get you to avow your faith, basically denounce your belief, your faith. All right, and if you do so, then that means that you really didn't have faith and you were weak. Like it says in was that Proverbs 24:10? You go to Proverbs 24:10, and this is why a lot of jakes are gonna fold. They're gonna get weak when it comes down to food. That's when a lot of jakes. That's pretty much the line drawn in the sand. All right. Proverbs 24:10, it says, "If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small." It says in the NLT, it says, "If you fell under pressure, your strength is too small." And a lot of you gonna be under pressure when it comes down to picking and choosing whether you're gonna go without food for a few days because you refuse to come up under this system. And having the patience to believe that the Lord is gonna somehow, some way provide for you. Like it says in Psalms 55 and was that 21, 22? Cast your burden upon the Lord and he will sustain thee. Meaning he will provide for you. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, it even is dealing with a provision. Psalms 55 and 22, it says, "Cast thy burden upon the Lord and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved." And when you look up that word sustain, the word is kawal. And it says down here, it says to seize, contain, measure, to measure, calculate. Let me jump down. It says to sustain, support, nourish. So the Lord's going to support us, man. while we prove our faith to him. It says to keep in, hence to measure, figuratively to maintain, be able to, can, abide, bear, comprehend, contain, feed. All right, feed, forbearing, guide, holding. As the Lord said, because you have kept the hour of my, because you have kept the word of my patience, I will keep thee from the hour of temptation. Right. So the Lord's going to guide us. He's going to, keep us. It says, nourish, be present, make provision, receive, sustain, provide sustenance, victuals. And what is victuals or victuals? Food or provisions. Okay. So somehow, some way, the Lord's gonna provide for us, even if this devil, shuts us out from being able to, make that transaction. And you got to believe that wholeheartedly. Okay. Otherwise, you're gonna succumb, to this devil's ultimatum. All right. And once you deny the faith and become an infidel, that's it. You failed the test. Because this is showing you right here that this is definitely the hour of temptation. It says another solution is to think of the charagma or red stamp, which was essential to all documents of exchange. It consisted of a red seal with the emperor's name or effigy. Ramsay takes the whole description as a symbolic and rather sarcastic way of referring to a boycotting demand that every Asiatic Christian or Israelite should somehow stamp himself overtly and visibly as loyal or be disqualified from participation in ordinary social life and trading. You see that? And that's the overall point. That if you're not a part of this system, all right, you're not showing loyalty to the image of the beast, in which to become a part of it and show your loyalty is to receive that the implant that's gonna plug you in. He's gonna cut you out from participation in ordinary social life and trading, which is dealing with what? Buying and selling. He's gonna cut you out from that. So how are you gonna go about business, your daily business? How are you gonna work? How are you gonna have a job? You see? How are you gonna go to the gym? How are you gonna go to the movies? So the same principle applies. This is what they're gonna do. Set that ultimatum. And you're either gonna choose life or choose death. And remember what the Lord said. He that loveth his life shall lose it, but he who loseth his life for my sake shall gain it. Eternal. So we're gonna have to definitely deny ourselves in this moment. It says probably the passage is a figurative and unqualified expression for conspicuous loyalty to the imperial cult. It says in I'm not sure what that is, but it says the devil is said to work against the anointed by excluding us from houses, baths, and markets, and also by forbidding any one of us to appear anywhere. So it's like you're gonna be banned from society. All right. So that's where the pressure comes in, and you be and being put to the test. Now, when you go to the scripture on the hour of temptation and look up the word temptation, and what the scriptures say that when you come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. All right, and it also says, set your heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in the time of trouble. All right, we got to be patient be patient when we're brought to a lower state. When meaning you might have to be without for a little bit. Then eventually the Lord's going to see that you down with him, and he's going to miraculously sustain you. You're going to be receiving food. The Lord's going to put the spirit on enemies to entreat you fair. All right, you might somehow receive some kind of shelter. You're going to get food. The Lord's going to make sure you survive and be preserved. But it's only for you to get through this hour so that your faith can be proven. All right. Revelation 3:10, it says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. All right. And temptation, let's go into the Greek real quick. And the Greek word is parasmas, which we went into this word before. And it says an experiment. So it's like the Lord is experimenting with you by bringing you into this situation. If you're alive on earth, when this man makes this mandatory, you're going to be a part of that experiment. Okay? The Lord going to see, what your heart is made of. Like it says in 1 Corinthians 3, you're going to your work. You're going to test your work to see of what sort it is. All right? It says attempt, trial, proving. Trial, proving the trial made of you by my bodily condition, since conditions serve as to test the love of the Galatians towards Paul. And we have to have the love of a Mashiach Yahushai. Romans the 8th chapter should come to mind. Who shall separate us from the love of a Mashiach Yahushai? All right, and it goes on the list, death and persecution and tribulation, famine, principalities, all type of things. And this devil's gonna, try to threaten you. He's gonna try to entice you. You already know how it's gonna come. It says the trial of man's fidelity, integrity, virtue, constancy, an enticement to sin, temptation, whether arising from the desires or from the outward circumstances. And Esau knows that the average Jake, they love food. And they love to have a social life too. So if Esau threatens that and cut that out, if they don't receive of that technology into their body, Jake is gonna they're gonna be all in. Just like with the jump shot, them jello shots that they was making mandatory at one point. Jake was jumping right on it, man, because they they fell into the temptation. I get to keep my job at least. I get to still get my benefits. I still get to make money. I'll still get to go to these concerts and to these games. And at the end of the day, you got played. It says an internal temptation to sin, of the temptation by which the devil sought to divert Yahushai Hamashiach from his divine errand on the mountain, of the condition of things or a mental state by which we are enticed to sin or to a lapse from the faith and holiness, adversity, affliction, trouble. This is also going to be the time of Jacob's trouble as well. All right, sent by the Most High and serving to test or prove one's character, faith, holiness. Okay, temptation, i.e., trial of the Most High by men, rebellion against the Most High, by which his power and justice are, as it were, put to the proof and challenged to show themselves. All right, so it's going to be a challenge for us. Okay, and it's not going to be easy, but that's why the better you remove yourself from the flesh and reap the things of the spirit, the better chances that you'll have. But if you so used to pleasure all the time, it's going to be a very hard challenge for you. All right, that's why it says in Sirach, was that Sirach 19, uh, he that resisteth pleasure, crown of his life. And that's why the Lord said to deny ourselves. The devil knows he can't win when you do that. When you rather just say, I'd rather die, he can't get you anymore. Sirach 19 and yeah, verse 5, it says, whoso taketh pleasure in wickedness shall be condemned, but he that resisteth pleasure is crowned of his life. Okay? So that's what's going to boil down to. Strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord will fight for you. So, this was just a little quick response to this commentary right here. It was, an interesting position on it. All right, and you can already see how this devil's going to do it. Okay? Everybody that's on that list is going to be pushing for them to be, blacklisted, boycotted, banned. You cannot have no access to nothing. You would be considered insurgent, okay, enemy combatant, because you refuse to bow and show loyalty to the beast, that adversary. And then some of us, because of that, are going to be beheaded, because there's going to be all type of false accusations against those very same people. That's when they're going to send they're going to come in like a flood and come after us, and they're going to try to demand us to make a choice or go up under that big ass blade. All right, and those who remain faithful and become martyrs, they're going to reign with Yahweh Shai. They're going to be risen up first, and they're going to reign with Yahweh Shai. They're going to be sitting on their thrones. That's you could read that in Revelation 20 and 4. They're going to be part of the first resurrection. All right. So that's pretty much it. I want to just go into this, and Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm gonna give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shai. And to the next lesson, Shalom.